Hello and welcome. I'm Pallavi Sharma and you're watching BIZWORLD Weekly, a show where we bring you the top stories of the week from across the world, from economy to politics. We cover everything that matter. Let's start with the market check. Indian equity indices ended on a strong note, with Nifty closing up 0.35% at 25,637.8 points and Sensex closing up 0.36% at 84,058.9 points. BSE Midcap Index rose 0.4% and Small Cap Index gained 0.5%. Among sectors, consumer durables, IT and realty were in red. Rest all sectors were in green. Top gainers on Nifty were Jio Financial, IndusInd Bank, Adani Enterprises, Asian Paints and Apollo Hospitals. And top losers were Trent, Dr. Reddy's Labs, Eternal, Wipro and Tata Consumer. Indian rupee ended 21 paise higher at 85.49 per dollar on June 27. Gold price for 24 karat gold was at 96,260 per 10 grams and 22 karat gold was at 88,238 rupees per 10 grams. When there is a war, there is a winner and a loser. Israel and Iran have stopped striking each other. US too joined the war briefly, and all three sides have now claimed victory. After 12 days of severe missile strikes, deaths and destruction, the war has stopped. Trump got peace, not the peace prize, but peace. Netanyahu got to fight and Iran's supreme leader survived. But then, after they agreed to a ceasefire brokered by Trump, the two struck again. Just once, and then Trump said this.
That have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
But now everything is peaceful between the three, and all of them have agreed to ceasefire and declared victory. But who actually won? Let's start with Israel. Netanyahu said after the truce that Israel removed two existential threats: threat to nuclear destruction and threat of destruction via ballistic missiles. He said if he had not struck Iran now, it would be a disaster in the future, calling it the most severe blow in history. He warned Iran if it tries to restore the program, Israel will act with the same determination. So what did it gain? It gained air supremacy in the battle against Iran and even claimed to destroy half of Iran's launchers. War showed how Israel can convince Trump to strike Iran, showing that Washington stands firmly with Tel Aviv. Politically too, it was a win for Netanyahu, who is going to go to polls next year. But then, what did it lose? A lot of money. As per reports, the daily expense of just intercepting missiles was around $200 million for Israel every day. A month of war with Iran would have costed Israel about $12 billion as per some economists. Apart from this, civilian life had slowed. Many businesses were shut down, around 60,000 of them, and the cost of displacing people from affected areas was another challenge. So, war with Hamas on one hand and Iran on the other, it would have costed Israel a lot of money. Now coming to its ally, US. It entered the war on late Saturday, and Trump stated that the strikes on Iran's nuclear sites were very successful and they completely obliterated its nuclear program. While some claims deny it, some say it's true. In one case, there is 400 kilograms of enriched uranium yet to be found. But for now, the world is believing that Trump did it and he was able to play peacemaker too. Well, somewhat, this one is unlike the India-Pakistan conflict. So to the world, Trump bought peace. But a prolonged war would be worse for the US too. As of now, the other matters like the big, beautiful bill and the trade war were sidelined during this conflict. It is already facing high debt, and economists are warning a debt bomb to burst. It has a fiscal deficit of 6.3% of its GDP. Analysts believe that the war would have added $4 trillion more to the $36 trillion US debt. It would have surpassed debt ceiling again, and if it would have raised again, then the dollar would be devalued and bond market would suffer too. So the borrowing cost would be increasing for the US. And surging oil price could also increase inflation pressure and delay the rate cuts further. So looking at this, you would have thought that Iran lost the war. But after the ceasefire, Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Khamenei declared victory over Israel. He said that US gained nothing from its strikes. He said that America wants Iran to surrender and has over the years accused Iran of human rights, women's rights, and then enrichment and nuclear program now. The foreign ministry has said that the strikes caused significant harm to the nuclear program, but no one knows how bad it was. The war also helped Iran build a narrative showing that it will strike back no matter what. Despite being bombed by Israel continuously, it struck back. It also struck the US airbase in Qatar, showing that it is capable of restraint. But economically too, a war would have cost Iran a lot. It was planning to close down the Strait of Hormuz, which would impact its own oil supply to other countries, hurting its economy dependent on oil. So who won the war? Well, seems like no one won the war. All three of them survived it. On June 22nd, US hit 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities. Trump said that its nuclear program has been completely obliterated. After the strike, he boasted about this massive strike in almost every speech he gave. But earlier, reports suggested that an early intelligence report says that US strikes did not destroy Iran's nuclear program and has probably only set it back by months. It said that the stockpile of enriched uranium was not eliminated in Saturday's bombing. And Trump accused the media of an attempt to demean one of the most successful military strikes in history, saying all of these reports are false. So, did the US actually destroy Iran's nuclear program or not? Well, the US has 18 intelligence agencies which sometimes produce conflicting reports based on their mission and area of expertise. Like, for example, American intelligence community is still not in agreement over the origins of COVID-19. The US media has cited sources saying that even after the attack, the centrifuges in Iran remain largely intact and the impact was limited to above ground structures, destroying some infrastructure. The reports further say that some of Iran's enriched uranium stockpile was moved before the strikes. Now, these reports could be false or based on one agency's assessment, because the CIA director, John Ratcliffe, said that the agency obtained a body of credible evidence that indicates Iran's nuclear program has been severely damaged by the strikes. Even the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, posted on X saying that the new intelligence supported the notion that Iran's nuclear sites were destroyed in the strikes. Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson confirmed that the nuclear facilities have been badly damaged in American strikes. He refused to go in detail, but he said that the impact has been significant. Even the Director General of IAEA, UN's nuclear watchdog, said that very significant damage has been made on Fordo. Now, while all this is happening, we don't know what extent of damage was made on Iran's nuclear program. Iran says it's significant, but not how significant. It might take few weeks to rebuild the program or might take decades. Iran does not want to give up on its program too. It is drafting a legislation to withdraw from the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which limits it from creating a nuclear weapon. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev hinted that other countries could help Iran get a nuclear weapon, but later clarified that Russia will not give Iran the bomb. Russia's foreign ministry has urged Iran to not opt out of the NPT, and if it does not opt out of it, then the nuclear program will be for peaceful purposes. Russia could then help Iran build it back. Russia is a dominant supplier in nuclear cycle in the world as the top player in the nuclear export industry. It has helped peaceful nuclear programs of India, China, Turkey, Egypt and Iran too. But all these are speculations. The reality is still not clear. Pakistan is secretly developing intercontinental ballistic missiles as per US intelligence report. This report comes at a crucial time because this is right after Operation Sindoor. The missile is long range and intercontinental, which can reach the US too. So US is concerned. What is this missile and why is this concerning? Here's the report.
Pakistan is in focus again. US intelligence agencies have assessed that the country is actively developing an intercontinental ballistic missile, or ICBM. This will be capable of reaching the continental United States. As per a report by Foreign Affairs, the Pakistani military is building a nuclear-armed ICBM. This became a serious concern after the Operation Sindoor that took place in May. This comes even as Islamabad maintains that its nuclear program is aimed solely at deterring India. But the new actions show that Pakistan may be attempting to deter potential US actions. The move has rung alarm in Washington. But what are ICBMs? Intercontinental ballistic missiles are self-guided weapons to deliver nuclear warheads over long distances. They can travel more than 5,500 kilometers. After being powered by a rocket, these missiles follow an unpowered trajectory towards their target. The maximum range of ICBMs varies from 7,000 to 16,000 kilometers. So some of these weapons can target virtually anywhere in the world, as per some reports, and in different ways, from underground missile silos to trucks to mobile launches or rail or submarines. Coming back to Pakistan, US intelligence says that if Pakistan acquires the long-range ballistic missile, Washington will have no choice but to treat it as a nuclear adversary. Reports say Pakistan's motive to develop this missile may deter the US from attempting to eliminate its arsenal in a preventive attack or intervening on Delhi's behalf in a future India-Pakistan conflict. Pakistan's nuclear weapons program kicked off in early 1970s in the wake of regional tensions, especially after India's nuclear tests in May 1974. Within days of India's tests in May 1998, Pakistan launched a series of 6 nuclear tests. As of now, Pakistan has over 170 nuclear warheads. As per the Arms Control Association, 8 countries, including US, China, France, Israel, Russia, India, UK and North Korea, have acquired intercontinental ballistic missiles. In 2024, India's homegrown Agni 5 ICBM successfully took its maiden test flight using multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicle technology. In the same year, China also carried out test firing of an ICBM into international waters. And in last October, North Korea launched a new ICBM, which flew 86 minutes towards waters off its eastern coast.
Pakistan's back and forth between dialogue with India and war over Indus Waters Treaty is as confusing as statements from its ministers on the country supporting terrorism. In the budget session of Pakistan, the former Pakistani Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari issued a strong warning to India. He said that Pakistan will not remain passive if the water rights are infringed. He said that India's decision of suspending the Indus Waters Treaty is illegal and provocative. He said that India has 2 options: to either share water fairly or Pakistan will take it from all 6 rivers. Quite optimistic coming from a country that has never won a war before. For background, India had suspended the Indus Waters Treaty of 1960 with Pakistan after the Pahalgam terror attack carried out by Pakistani terrorists. He said that if the water was used as a weapon by India, Pakistan would be forced to act, and not surprising coming from the Delulu land, he said, and I quote, Pakistan is in the position to defeat India just as it was before. India's reply, well, India's Jal Shakti minister rejected Pakistan's repeated letters asking India to lift the suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty, calling them just a formality that will not change India's stand. He said that India has no plans to review its decision despite requests from Pakistan. Last week, Home Minister of India Amit Shah also announced that the historic treaty will not be restored. As per a report, the government has taken a decision to divert water meant for Pakistan under Indus Waters Treaty for use in 4 Indian states. This aligns with Modi's statement that Desh ka pani Desh ke haq mein bahega, translating to India's water will flow in favor of India. Meanwhile, just one day after Bhutto's comments, Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif expressed his willingness to engage in a meaningful dialogue with India to resolve all outstanding issues, including the Indus Waters Treaty, Kashmir, trade, and terrorism. India says talks can only return if the focus is on return of POK and ending terrorism or support to terrorism. The treaty is critically important for Pakistan as it provides water for 80% of agricultural land and is vital for the economy, food security, and livelihoods. Donald Trump and his obsession with the Nobel Peace Prize is no secret now. He has mentioned it several times. He has also officially been nominated by the US Representative Buddy Carter from Georgia. The nomination was submitted following Trump's announcement of a ceasefire deal between Israel and Iran. But then Trump's Peace Prize aspirations hit a roadblock when Alexander Miriske, a top Ukrainian lawmaker and head of country's Parliamentary Foreign Committee, withdrew his own nomination of Trump, saying that he lost any sort of faith in Trump and his ability to secure a ceasefire deal between Russia and Ukraine. Pakistan too had earlier announced that it would nominate Trump for the Peace Prize for reducing tensions between India and Pakistan, but later they condemned the US strikes on Iran and then went back from this statement as usual. Trump has been talking about how he won't get the Nobel Peace Prize for stopping the war between India and Pakistan. Well, makes sense because he probably had no role in it, because India has denied any mediation from the US, saying that the talks were held between the two DGMOs of India and Pakistan separately. PM Modi also fact-checked the claim few days ago, but Trump still went on to praise himself for stopping a war between the two nuclear powers. In a post on social media, he mentioned the Nobel Peace Prize 6 times in a single post. He said that he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize at least 4 to 5 times. It's not even in this term, in his previous term too, he mentioned it several times, but one thing was common in his speeches. Barack Obama. He mentioned how Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize and he wouldn't because his name is not Obama. If his name was Obama and he did the same things that he's doing right now, he would get it. But let's get real. He promised to end the Russia-Ukraine war. He promised to end the Israel-Gaza war, but it is not solved yet. He recently announced a ceasefire deal between Israel and Iran, but soon after that, Israel struck Iran again. Although it stopped because Trump used the F word and made series of posts on social media, Trump also thanked Qatar for mediating the ceasefire with Iran and helping him. And he says that he should get a Nobel Peace Prize for mediating a ceasefire between the two countries. But what is this obsession all about? It may have to do something with the former US President Barack Obama, who won the award in less than 9 months of taking office in 2009. Trump has criticized the Nobel Committee in the past for picking Obama for the award. He said in 2019 that they wouldn't give it to him because they don't give it out fairly. Critics say that Trump doesn't deserve it because there is no guarantee that he will achieve a deal between Russia and Ukraine or a peace deal in West Asia. What are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments. The NATO summit was held in The Hague this week, and it was a crucial time, a time when Trump is the president. He has made several statements against his allies and even announced high tariffs on them. On the NATO itself, he said that he wanted members to spend more on defense, at least 5% of their GDP. He said that it was unfair that America spent so much on defense, but the other NATO members spent less on their own defense, and threatened that he would choose not to help America's allies during hard times. Also, the Russia-Ukraine war is escalating with no sign of a peace deal nearing. At this time, when the West is supporting Ukraine, Trump is now being pally with Putin. So it was a crucial meeting. Despite this, the NATO summit was all about Trump, the big daddy ordering his children and getting them to do what he wants. from an agreement to spend more on defense to a sidelined Ukraine. Our next report tells you why this NATO summit was Trump-dominated.
The NATO summit, held from 24th to 25th of June in Netherlands, has been described as transformational and historic. Finland's President Alexander Stubb said that we are witnessing the birth of a new NATO. But looks like the big daddy of this new NATO is Trump, because it was all about him. NATO is the world's biggest security organization of 32 members. They met in a 2-day meeting in The Hague. But why was this summit Trump-dominated? Well, first the organization endorsed a plan to massively ramp up defense spending. This will cost NATO's European members and Canada tens of billions of dollars. Until now, the allies had set a target of 2% of gross domestic product for their defense budgets. Now they will be aiming for 5%, where 3.5% is meant to be achieved entirely through core defense spending on troops and weapons, and remaining can be put towards defense-related expenditure. Reaching the 3.5% itself will be very significant ask for many NATO countries. This was Trump's idea. He said that while the US is spending heavily on its defense, the European countries are not spending enough on their own defense. He also said once that US could choose not to assist an ally under attack if their spending is low. And after this was agreed, Trump hailed it as a monumental victory and obviously praised himself. He said that the spending hike, with the exception of Spain, will ultimately add more than $1 trillion per year to NATO's collective defense capabilities. He also said that if the allies want to protect their country, they need the US, and without the US it will not be the same. Well, obviously not everyone was on board. Spain officially refused the agreement. Slovakia had reservation. Belgium, Italy and France will struggle to meet this target. But the NATO leaders reaffirmed their ironclad commitment to NATO's Collective Defense Clause Article 5. However, after Spain's refusal prompted Trump accusing Madrid of seeking a little bit of a free ride. Spain's prime minister was also seen standing away from his NATO colleagues in the family photo. But what about the Russia-Ukraine war? Well, NATO summits are largely focused on supporting Kiev, but this one was Trump-dominated. And all of us know what the relations between Trump and Zelensky are like. So in this Trump-dominated NATO summit, there was no mention of Ukraine's membership prospects. Instead, the leaders underlined their enduring sovereign commitments to provide support to Ukraine. Zelensky was at the venue, he dined with the leaders, held several talks and spent an hour or so with Trump, but NATO's plan was to focus the meeting on only Trump's cause. And if that was not enough, NATO Secretary Mark Rutte proved that US runs the NATO. Trump posted a message sent by Rutte on social media. It said, "Europe is going to pay in a big way, as they should, and it will be your win." And then he referred to him as Daddy. In his earlier messages too, he flattered Trump for decisive action in Iran, and that no American president in decades could have done. He was not embarrassed too, and said that he thinks Trump deserves praise.
Trump has taken a dig at Fed Chairman Jerome Powell once again. He has in the past called him names several times, from dumb, stupid, slow, too late and more. Now he has escalated his attacks, calling him terrible and revealing that he has some names to replace him and he's considering them. Now, for context, Trump wants the Fed to cut interest rates. He says the economy is doing fine, inflation has come down, so the Fed should cut rates and it's too late already. However, in the latest FOMC meet, the Fed kept the rates unchanged and indicated 2 rate cuts before the end of this year. The rates have not been lowered since December 2024. Testifying before the Congress on June 25th, when Trump was attending the NATO summit, Powell acknowledged that the recent inflation readings had been more moderate than expected, but he warned that tariffs could change that. He said that the high tariffs could push inflation up this summer. He also said that while tariffs are often considered one-time price shocks, he noted that it is not a law of nature. The Fed sets the rates based on dual mandate system to keep inflation moderate and maximize employment. Trump is not happy with the decision, and this week he once again indicated that he would replace him, and he has 2 to 3 names. Earlier too, he said he wants to replace Powell. Recently, he even said that he wants to be the Fed chairman himself. Reuters has come out with Trump's list of top contenders, including former Fed Governor Kevin Walsh, National Economic Council head Kevin Hassett, current Fed Governor Christopher Waller, and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Now remember that Trump in his first term had appointed Powell as the Fed chairman himself. Powell's term ends in May 2026. On the 2024 campaign trail, now Treasury Secretary, who is an expected replacement, planted the seed for a shadow Fed chair, who will be already named as the successor of the current Fed chair and could undermine a still seated Powell by sharing his monetary policy stance. On the list is Christopher Waller too, the current Fed governor who recently spoke in favor of rate cuts. However, as per a policy market prediction platform, former Fed Governor Walsh is leading possible next Fed chair with 22% odds, followed by Waller at 21%. But all this is not surprising because it is classic Trump. If you are against him, he will call you names and put you down. Because such an early announcement is very rare. The successor of past Fed bosses have only been revealed 2 to 3 months before the expiry of the term. Let's move on to Russia. It has been at war with Ukraine for a long time now, and with war comes financial vulnerabilities. Is Russia on a brink of recession? Russia's economy minister says so. He said that the current business sentiment indicators point to a looming downturn. The economy has been volatile since it launched its full-scale invasion into Ukraine in February 2022, with growth now slowing after a period of defense spending led to overheating. Officials have reported strong expansion in 2023 and 2024, but the economists are now warning that the growth is unsustainable and does not reflect real gains in productivity at times of war. This is because at first the military spending increases the military production, boosting the overall economic sector. But then the civilian sector sees a downturn. So costs are high, civilian sector investment is constrained, and the country may drift towards a stagflation or worse, a recession. Russia's GDP in Q1 of 2025 grew only 1.4% year-on-year, weakest in the past 2 years. Its central bank has raised key rates to 21% in October to curb inflation, maintaining that level until earlier this month when the rates went down to 20%. Meanwhile, the inflation is still high, driven by state spending and labor shortage. While the annual inflation dipped below 10% in May, the inflation has stayed more than the central bank's target of 4% over the year. Russia's central bank governor said that the country fairly grew in the last 2 years because its unused resources were activated, and they need to understand that many of those resources have been exhausted. Many Western companies have also pulled out of Russia. Sanctions have been imposed on Russia by the West too. Recently, UK announced that it will impose more sanctions on Russia in the G7 summit held in Canada. Even as Trump wants to maintain sweet relations with Putin, Western businesses are unlikely to return in large numbers as Russia's war with Ukraine continues. Even American companies would seriously consider coming back only if there is some sort of an end to the conflict. Russian banks are also facing a risk of systematic crisis within 12 months as bad debt levels are surging across corporate and retail lending portfolios, as per Bloomberg report. Banks estimate that their bad debts run to trillions of rubles. As per the report, one estimate showed corporate loan portfolios decreasing by 1.5 trillion rubles in first 2 months of 2025 before stabilizing. Meanwhile, Putin has said that stagflation and even a recession must not be allowed to happen in any circumstances. He said that Russia needs to pursue competent, well thought out budgetary, tax, and monetary policy. India's defense sector has been booming since Operation Sindoor, when India showed its homegrown systems and jets can do wonders. Hence, India is planning to make its own 5th generation stealth fighter jet, the AMCA project. But one big hurdle for this project was the engine and the making of it. The Kaveri project launched long ago was not a big success for the country, and there are only 4 countries that make jet engines in the world. But there is good news now. HAL and GE are finalizing a deal to jointly produce jet engines in India. The deal is expected to conclude this financial year, and the negotiations on technology transfer have been finalized almost. How will this help India and its defense sector? Here's the report.
In a big boost for Make in India initiative, Hindustan Aeronautics will seal a deal with US defense major GE Aerospace by March to jointly produce a jet engine to power the next generation of India's combat aircraft. Hindustan Aeronautics chief DK Sunil said that the two companies will jointly produce the engine for F-414 jets in India, and the mega plan was announced during PM Modi's visit to Washington, D.C. in 2023. The program suffered from several slippages because of protracted negotiations on sharing advanced technology. But now, Sunil said crucial negotiations on transfer of technology were concluded, and both sides are now focusing on the commercial aspects of the project. He said that the two defense majors might conclude the deal in this financial year. This is a very significant development, considering the long-held US policy of maintaining strict controls over domestic military technologies. Sunil also added that the engines will also be used in Tejas LCA Mark II variant and the initial prototypes of 5th generation Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft, or the AMCA. Remember, Hindustan Aeronautics is working on the Tejas Mark II variant, and this will feature a more powerful engine, greater load-carrying capabilities, superior electronic warfare system, and an array of advanced avionics. India is also working on Made in India 5.5 generation stealth fighter jets called the AMCA, designed by the DRDO and developed by the ADA and Hindustan Aeronautics. The key challenge for this project was the engine. The AMCA Mk1, powered by GE's F404 engine, is slated for a first flight in 2030. But why is India not able to make its own engines? Well, developing an engine is very complex. It needs expertise across multiple engineering disciplines, and the cost is significant. Hence, only 4 countries, US, UK, Russia, and France, were able to manufacture jet engines independently. The Mk2 variant of AMCA needs more advanced systems like AI-driven drones and directed energy operations, which requires a more powerful 110 to 130 kN engine, which DRDO plans to develop indigenously with a foreign partner like GE, Safran, and Rolls-Royce. India has struggled with projects like the Kaveri engine as it faced delays and technical issues and was not used in India's light combat aircraft because of the inability to reach the required thrust-to-weight ratio. There were problems in high-temperature metallurgy and afterburner performance and reliability. However, the project is far from dead. In May, reports suggested that DRDO is testing the Kaveri engine in Russia, where about 25 hours of flight testing remain. Defense officials say that these tests await available slots from Russian authorities.
Indian Air Force Group Captain Subhanshu Shukla was launched in space aboard a SpaceX Crew Dragon spacecraft on a Falcon 9 rocket. It was shot off to space from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. It is a proud moment for India, as he is the second Indian to travel to space 4 decades after Wing Commander Rakesh Sharma made the cosmic journey. He delivered his first message after reaching space, saying that it was a wonderful ride. Shukla spoke twice, once in English and then in Hindi, sharing a message for Indians. He will be spending 14 days in space. Our next report tells you more details about the space mission and about Shukla.
और मेरे कंधे पे मेरे साथ मेरा तिरंगा है, जो मुझे बता रहा है कि नहीं हूँ, मैं आप सबके साथ हूँ और मैं चाहता हूँ कि आप सभी देशवासी इस यात्रा का हिस्सा बने। आपका भी सीना जैसे चौड़ा होना चाहिए, आप भी उतना ही एक्साइटमेंट दिखाइए। आइए हम सब मिलकर भारत के ह्यूमन स्पेस प्रोग्राम की जर्नी की शुरुआत करें। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद, जय भारत।
For more such news and views, keep watching ET Now. I will see you next week.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.